is the Leaders on Fire podcast.
What's up, Mark? How you doing, man?
What's going on, man?
Dude, I'm excited about today.
Our first podcast together.
For Leaders on Fire. So we're super stoked to roll out a new series of podcasts. And on this first one, we're going to be talking about a framework called the Prioritized Leader. Have you heard about that before?
Well, Drew, you've actually introduced me to that. And I think the thing that makes me excited too about this podcast is we have such amazing discussions when we're talking about our content, trying to create new content and working on these plans that it just makes sense to be able to put this out there so other people can hear kind of what we're passionate about, what we're excited about. And the Prioritized Leader was really interesting. You know, that was something that you kind of introduced to me. And as I began to interact with the material, I realized, man, this is really powerful. It's a powerful tool. And going through the material, it actually helped me understand some prioritizing that I needed to do in my own work and in my own leadership too. So I'm really excited about today. You know, it's gonna be fun.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm looking forward to it as well. And yeah, this framework I feel can really significantly impact leaders and the culture and really ignite transformation in organizations. I really believe it. I've seen it and I've personally experienced it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I want to light the fire a little bit here and actually want to go in a little bit deeper with that. And if you could just share a little bit about how, because I don't even think I understand fully the origin story of how you were introduced to it yourself and how you were able to kind of apply this. I'd love to hear kind of your story to it.
Yeah, sure. No, it's an interesting one. So first of all, the 5 priorities are purpose, people, pace, perception, and profit, and in that order. And so how I kind of came across this, it was more organic. Okay, so for a couple decades, I was in a family business with my brothers, and early on, my father-in-law started giving us stewardship principles early on. Like he'd give us books to read about nobility and stewardship and purpose. And then he challenged us as a company to start tithing way back when we didn't have money. We were just broke because we were growing and we were cash poor. But he said we should be tithing. And so we started giving way in our early days before we had money to give. And so there was this thread of purpose that began to unfold. You know, I was in my early 20s. I was a believer and I was pursuing the Lord. But these elements of purpose and how they can connect to business, it was a new concept. And a few years after that, I'd say it's probably 2003 or 4, Josh and I went to the Global Leadership Summit for the first time. And it was really eye-opening because the premise of whole Global Leadership Summit is it's faith-based and it's purpose-driven leadership. And we saw this purposeful leadership interacting with the marketplace in ways that we're like, whoa, we can do this.
Yeah,
we can do this. And so that began the process. And of course, if your purpose is rooted properly, the natural outcome is people, right? And we were a people-focused organization. And so as we continued on throughout the years, these priorities, while we didn't name them purpose, people, pace, perception, and profit in that order, I go, oh, this is what we're doing. This is the framework we're following. We actually didn't know that. And it wasn't until I was introduced to the framework 20 years later that I'm like, that's what helped us be successful and radically change lives along the way. That's the formula we were living, and we were following that out.
Yeah.
And so when I first saw it, I'm like, that's it. I want to know more about that, and I want to go deeper. And it was just the 5 words in that order that really impacted me.
Well, but we both know what it's like even starting a business and even kind of working. It's absolutely important, right, for that profit side of things, and like when you're in those trenches, like you were saying, you guys were even committed to tithing when you weren't, when that probably didn't make sense in some capacity. So I guess when you think of what happens when these levels are out of order or when they're not in line with each other, why is this so important that we follow that this particular framework?
Yeah, sure, man. Well, let's just say if profit is first and it's your number one motivator, you're going to make decisions for profit above everything else at the end of the day. Like when the pressures rise, you're going to make decisions for profit,
Yeah.
which means you're going to compromise your purpose. You could compromise people, burn them out. You could drive pace too hard or too soft. And so there's a lot of implications for putting the wrong things ahead of other things. And so, I like to say that profit is the most important, but it's not the most significant. 'Cause profit is the lifeblood of the business. You absolutely have to have it. But if you do the right things in the right order, profit is the natural outcome of a healthy organization.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think too, when, as I relate to that, you know, it does make a significant difference. Even starting out the business, when I'm worried about the finances and that becomes like everything that I'm focused on doing, I begin to lose that sense of clarity or even connection to the work I'm doing. I'm grinding everything out. It becomes exhausting. And yet I'm seeing that money part is important. It is important for us to make a living and for the company to thrive and be successful. But I do see when that begins the focus or drive, there's something about that it just like, man, it falls apart or it feels like I'm burning, at both ends, in that capacity. So it does make sense, When we look at maybe digging a bit deeper into the levels, is there a way of maybe kind of sharing a little bit more detail to those particular levels and maybe an application or how that shows itself a bit?
Yeah, so let's fan the flame a little bit here and break this down. So just walking through each one, I mean, purpose, it's understanding your why. Why does the organization exist? What ultimate purpose are you serving? And people need to wrestle with that. What is the purpose? Is it to serve self? Is it to serve others? Is it to serve your family? Is it to serve a God? And understanding that purpose really is the primary driving force of everything that you do. So having that clarified is super important.
Yeah.
And then the next priority is people, because without people, they really can't do it. And to be able to invest and focus on people and the health of the people and to develop them and to invest in them and to empower them creates an amazing culture and can create a high level of excellence in an organization. So sometimes the problem is that leaders will look at people as just a tool to use to get what they need and what they want, and truly don't care for the person. But when you actually care for the person first, of who they are, and you identify their skills and abilities, you can empower them to have a fulfilling career for themselves while having great contribution to the organization.
Yeah.
And so focusing on the people piece is super important. Now for us, people ties directly to our purpose, right? And so that is a natural outcome. Like for us to accomplish the purpose, we must focus on investing in people, because ultimately we want to see people grow in the relationship with God and to live a flourishing life.
So just on that note, how important is it that the people that you're working with or your leadership team is aligned with that? What's that like if it's off pace that, or we have a different level of purpose or what's driving us?
No, that's good. So so we've got this program called the Priorited Leader on our learning platform. And in the purpose module, we go deep with this. And so we've got a workbook that really challenges leaders to not only identify the purpose and the vision and the values, but how are you going to embed that into your organization?
Yeah.
Because the repetition and pointing everything back to that purpose is how you do that.
Right.
And so, maybe when you initially start that, you don't have full alignment, but you bring people on board when you have a compelling vision.
Yeah.
And it supports a purpose. And so as you get that going, these things take time.
It's
not like you can just all of a sudden decide, oh, here's my purpose and I'm going to start investing in people and expect an immediate turnaround. I mean, these things take some time. And so, the purpose element and getting your team aligned is really important. And then, focusing on the people is the next important thing. And so when you look at the third priority, it's pace. And pace determines how fast or how slow you go. You can grow too fast, and that has all kinds of implications that affect perception and profit, and also affects people and purpose. So pace is in the middle on purpose, because pace can have a negative impact on all of those, both directions. whether you're slow, because you can create some complacency and just be a little bit too soft, or you can go too fast and burn people out. And so in the Prioritized Leader program, so I do Ironmans, and I use the fueling and pacing strategy for an Ironman as a metaphor for pace for business.
Yeah.
It's super fascinating. So I can't wait till we get to that podcast, because it's really cool parallel on how fueling for an Ironman and fueling your business and pacing strategies are really important, or you won't finish.
Right. Well, you know, just to back off on that point, you know, you shared with me some of just that pace, you know, when I was doing some of my workout and my cardio. And when you gave me this little formula about keeping pace, it like completely changed the level for my progress. I could go further. I was burning more calories than I was before because I didn't have that. I was kind of like burning myself at both ends, and then
Every time.
and I would peter out, or you know, or I wouldn't, and then I wouldn't even look forward to it because I'm like, okay, this is going to be this miserable thing. But honestly, when you help me understand even pace on that running side of things, it actually created a sense of like, oh my goodness, there's a way of doing this that's optimal, and it started feeling good. I started actually looking forward to working out with it, you know.
For sure.
And so you can see the alignment of that in business and in the ways that we're doing. And I know when I'm being driven by something different, man, I feel like I'm about to burn out.
Yeah.
You know, or I have this lack of clarity, right? And so I avoid it. I kind of, you know, and so it causes things to be delayed in that. But when you have those things aligned, it really is significant in that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, and pace is the most difficult one. And so the one thing I forgot to mention is we have this assessment called the Prioritized Leader Assessment. It's 50 questions, and it allows you to answer questions, and then it puts in order and ranks where your priorities are at, and it also gives you a score.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, pace is the one that's at the top.
Yeah.
In terms of not in order of priority, but in terms of the one that is suffering.
Yeah.
Right? They might not have pace as the priority. Pace might be somewhere else, but the score in the pacing area is almost always off.
Yeah.
In the one that needs most improvement. And so it is really difficult to get that right. And so if you get the pace right, then what happens is it allows you to perceive, and perception is about looking into the future, understanding where the market's going, perceiving what's ahead, taking time to think, paying attention to your people. Right? That's perception. It's a lens which you can look through. And you know this in life, let alone business. If you're burned out, what's that lens like?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're not taking time to reflect or to calibrate or to think ahead.
When I work with leaders, hands down, there's not one situation where time is not something that we're working and coaching through, because it demands so much, and it's that feeling, if I don't feel like I have enough time, or I'm not able to accomplish all these things, it's really part of the recipe of burnout, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And if you don't take that, if the pace is off, you're just not going to have that time for perception, which is really that's about the future, right?
Yeah.
And you get caught in the whirlwind and in the grind, and you just can't move ahead. And so a healthy pace allows you to perceive and innovate. Right?
It does.
And we've got this thing in the pace, in the perception module that's called the innovation loop. And it's a process of how to foster innovation, which includes taking time to recalibrate, taking time to think and to perceive the future, because that's super important, especially at the rapid pace that things are evolving in the marketplace now.
Yeah.
And so the ability to perceive and innovate is really important. And so if you get all these things right, if you've got the purpose dialed in, and you're investing into your people, and you're focused on having a healthy pace that's good for the organization, good for the people, and you're able to perceive the future and innovate well, the natural outcome is profit.
Well, let me ask you this, okay? Because I think this is an important one for us to be able to discuss, because you've introduced to me a way of looking at things a little bit different thing, and it even has become part of our mission about helping people understand what purposeful profit is. That there can be absolutely true significance and meaning to the profit that we have. So help me understand this last point, or help others understand a little bit more on what is important about this profit.
Yeah, I mean, so basically we like to say this: where there is no margin, there is no mission. Okay, so you need the profit. And if you put the priorities in the right order and you have a healthy organization, you can trust that the fruits of your labor will be there and the profit will be there. Now, I'm not saying this is a formula that you hit go on and 6 months later you're profitable.
Yeah.
These things take a long time, and it's over the course of time that you create sustainable profitability. And with that, you apply this purpose plus profit formula.
Yeah.
And it's really this idea of stewardship. And it goes back to going, okay, I'm entrusted to steward the assets that I've been given for a purpose. And the profit is the fuel for that purpose, right? So it actually inverts the model back again. So if you think about the 5 priorities, when you do this in the right order, it generates the profit, which fuels the purpose.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that that's hard to keep sight of, right? The human nature of things doesn't make that an easy thing to grasp or keep connected to. But when you do, it really is empowering, right? It makes it gives purpose to everything that we're doing, which goes back to the first priority, So we have another section here that we like to do, right? And this is about carrying the torch, and it's kind of the actionable steps. And with the prioritized leader, we've really felt that it was a valuable asset for us to include with Leaders on Fire and the content that we're bringing out to others, because of just, one, the effectiveness that it had in the businesses that you worked in. And as you introduced it to me, and as we've been applying it the best we can too, and with Leaders on Fire, we're seeing the fruit of that. Yeah. So naturally, we wanted that to be a part of things that we offered people. Would you want to share a little bit more about, what are the opportunities that people can even do through Leaders on Fire?
Yeah, man, I'm super excited about it. We wrapped up just this year our Prioritized Leader course, and it's jam-packed full of super strong content, workbooks and study guides to help people work through this process, because it's not a quick thing, and to really be able to go deep into it. And so we've created an online platform that has all kinds of courses on it. It's called the Lo-Fi platform, as you know. I'm saying this for the benefit of our listeners, but the Prioritized Leader is now a product that is available, and it's self-serve. While it's self-serve, meaning you can purchase the course and go through it at your own pace, we found it effective also in roundtables. I'm actually finishing up a roundtable next Wednesday. We're finishing the final module on profit, and it's been super powerful. And we're meeting once a month, going through that. But they have got their work cut out for them. So they've learned these principles and they've learned these tools. They were using the workbook and the study guides really well. Now the hard work begins. Yeah. Right? Yeah. They've learned it. Now how are they going to apply it? And so we've created this tool set for people to absorb the content, to understand how these priorities work, and to give them the tools of how to implement and apply these over the course of time. Yeah.
Well, I think one of the things that I love too about how we've created that video format, right? And it's just, it's not just something that's boring, it's interactive. We get to, so there's the video component, there's the study guide component, and the feedback so far has been pretty amazing with it. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, so super excited about that. We're going to be really promoting that product here in the upcoming months, and super excited to see the impact that it can have.
Well, we're going to do this podcast series, and we're going to be breaking down those 5 priorities in a lot more detail and a lot more personal interaction and impact on how it's really helped and shaped us. When we look at kind of coming to a close, what are some ways, and if you would share with other people, what are ways that they can either get a hold of this content, or where do we want to direct them here?
Yeah, leadersonfire.com. If you go to leadersonfire.com, there's a section at the top called the Lo-Fi learning platform. And in there, you can see all the courses we have, but the Prioritized Leader is one of them. And I'd encourage people to take the assessment, because it's super fascinating.
It is.
And that will open up your eyes. It's a really robust report. Depending on how you're doing and the health of those areas, I've seen leaders with the report being like 70 pages.
Yeah, wow.
Because it's breaking it down and breaking it down and breaking it down based on how they answered the questions, and if they have areas of improvement, it provides suggestions and a roadmap for how to do that. So the assessment is really robust. Since you're probably more prioritized, Mark, I'm guessing your report was only 10 pages.
It was not that. Yes, it was a little bit shorter, but it was revealing to me, and honestly, my priorities were not where I thought they were. It wasn't that I didn't find those important. And this is what I liked about that assessment too, because not only does it show where they line up in in a list of your priorities, but it shows you the depth of it or quality of that, right? So purpose, though I wanted it to be my first priority, I thought it was my first priority. It was actually the profit side. But when I look at the depth of it, I was connected to purpose and meaning, but it wasn't driving my performance, right? And so when I look at that, especially in the beginning time of us starting Leaders on Fire, and it was like, okay, you know, I'm feeling we have to make this sustainable. We have to do, and so it wasn't that I was disconnected from my purpose, but it wasn't driving everything that I was doing, and it was affecting my pace as well, right? And so when I got to see that, it just created awareness, right? And I think that's the very beginning of all change for any of us, right? Is becoming aware. And when we can look at that without judgment and see, oh, that makes a little bit more sense. And now it's like, okay, well, how do I want to shift that? Because I know that this is the right formula, and it was out of whack. And by shifting it, it really started creating a lot more peace. I wasn't feeling the fear that in the reactionary way of driving what I was doing, and I felt more connected to what I was doing. You know, so it's really powerful. So,
That's awesome, man. Well, I tell you what, we'll put the link to the assessment in the podcast notes so people can go take that. It's really affordable. I think it's like 25 or $50. It's not very expensive at all. It's totally worth the few bucks to take the assessment. So we'll put those in the notes for people to get after that assessment. Of course, if they want to dig in, you know, they can reach out to me or you. My email is drew@leadersonfire, your Mark at leadersonfire.com. So we're always happy to field questions. So
absolutely. Can't wait for our next one, man. All right.
Awesome. Till next time.
Till next time.